Cool. All right, we are now live. And can you see the top left where there's an eyeball?
There's an eyeball, top left. No, just
Oh,
live.
okay. It's probably because you're not the
host.
The host, yeah. And we'll wait until we actually get a couple of people on here. Oh, we've got some folks. So yeah, let's get started.
All right.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Short notice too. I was sort of like, let's do it. Let's chat. Let's get on
tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And we already have our first comment, which is really nice.
Oh, Aiden. Hey, friend. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Neat, eh?
I like this. People could comment and I could see it. Me and Aiden have some big news later on, so I'm excited to share.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. All right.
Hi, guys.
Ryan. Yay. Cool. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's kind of fun. We can see people on YouTube and they can interact with us. So welcome. So please introduce yourself.
My name is Kayla. I am the proud dog mommy of Toby from the Toby Project. I live in Philadelphia with my husband, my dog, and my lovely 3 cats. I am a cat woman. I'm like total cat lady. And I'm a physical therapist.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about Toby, where he came from and what you sort of noticed right away when you adopted him.
Toby. So Toby came from Act Philly, so it's a local shelter in Philadelphia. We found ourselves looking for a new dog shortly after our first dog, Max, sadly passed away. He lived a really great long life, though. So we found ourselves there shortly after, and as soon as I saw Toby, he was formerly known as Frank. I just fell in love with him because my heart completely shattered because he was so afraid and so scared and he was just cowering in the corner. So as soon as I saw him, I loved him. And then we later adopted him. There's like a lot of...
I saw the video that you had posted on, was it Instagram yesterday, of his, like, when you went to see him, he was so scared. And man, some of these dogs are just, can you imagine going into that environment and having no idea what's going on?
No.
How terrifying that is.
For the volunteers to even get him outside, it took so long. So he really didn't get outside that much just because the lack of volunteers. And he was just terrified. And my husband, he knew a lot more about dogs because, like I said, I'm a cat lady. Toby's the first dog I've ever even had to train. So he was like, Kayla, he's going to have issues. And he really wanted this other dog named Rocco, who was this like fun, just happy, wild little pitty. But I just really wanted Frank. And then we got a text from one of the shelter volunteers telling us that Rocco got adopted from a family. And Toby was time-stamped for that weekend. So it really made our decision easy because those were the two we're deciding between, like my dog and, Nick's. And luckily, both got saved.
Oh, that's awesome. So you took him home and obviously immediately, I mean, you saw in the shelter he was scared. So how did you sort of prepare? Did you have anything prepared for when you bring him home, or were you just sort of like, let's wing it?
Yeah, no. So we took him home and we didn't even have a leash with us because we were told that, they give you the leashes and whatnot. And they actually ran out of leashes. And it was a funny story. So me and Nick were waiting for Frank at the time to come out. And we're like, well, what are we going to name him? Because my husband didn't want to name him Frank because he has an Uncle Frank. So we both came up with Toby because we thought of the guy from The Office, that awkward, shy HR guy. And we're like, yeah, he seems like a Toby. And then the leash that the shelter brought out had the Toby project on it.
Wow, that is so wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Very
came up
cool.
with that, like, it was like after we named him and everything, so it was fate. So we brought him into the car on his Toby project leash, and I sat in the back seat with him. We didn't have a crate or anything, and he just like melted into me and just kept licking me and like cuddling. And like from the moment we got him, like me and Nick, like we're both giggling so much because we thought he was going to take a long time to warm up to us, and we were ready for that, you know, to give him his space, but he was like Velcro from the moment we got him.
So is there any history that was supplied to you? Like when you adopted him, was he a stray? Was he a surrender?
He was found tied up in a baseball field.
Well,
And that's
that's okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, poor guy.
I
Yeah.
know.
Well, so how old was he? How do you know how old he was when you got
They
him?
got about a year. I think he was probably a little younger than a year. He was
Yeah.
tiny. He was a
Okay.
baby.
Okay. He's probably was he underweight as well?
Yeah, he was skinny.
Yeah. Skinny guy. Okay. So so you bring him home. Starting points for training. What did you look to get information?
Well, clearly the first book I got was Caesar Milan.
Hey,
So
me too. Go figure.
it, and I was getting so sad because I was like, this isn't how we treated Max at all. And I was
Yeah.
like, Max always slept in bed with us, and Max basically did whatever he wanted. So I was like, I don't like this. So I stopped with Caesar, and then I got a Zach George book. So I started to like do a little bit of like his stuff with like, you know, treats and sit. And I actually was watching my videos from last November of me training Toby, and I was like, Toby, sit, 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 like sit. And I'm like cringing watching me try to like to train because I had no idea
Yeah.
what I was doing. And then I where else did I go? I really didn't like look that hard into it because he was so shut down for the first 2 weeks, and I confused him being shut down as him being just really great. I was like, wow, what an easy dog. He didn't bark. Like he was afraid. Like when he would see a person, he would stop until they passed him. And when he would see a dog, he would stop. But like he didn't bark or anything. He didn't pull on the leash at the time because he was just so terrified. He also didn't pee on walks because he was so afraid.
Yeah.
But the first 2 weeks I was just kind of, you know, winging it a bit. And then the first 2 weeks we made so many mistakes. I like brought him to the pet store. I brought him to the beer store. I brought him to the Philadelphia Marathon.
You did everything that the average person does that I see. You know what I mean? So I think it's good that we're talking about this.
Yeah, I had no idea about like a shutdown period, like a 2 week shutdown at the shelter, but they didn't really go into much detail about it. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like sounds good, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And when I brought him to the Philadelphia Marathon, he was shaking so bad, and me and my husband were like, oh, he's cold. So we brought him back, and then shortly after that, he was still shaking. And then we brought my in-laws over. And that's when we learned that he has some serious stranger danger.
Right. Yeah.
So that was an issue. And then they left. And later that night, I was like, you know what? Maybe it was a fluke. My next door neighbor wants to come over with her infant. So they came over, and then it was scary. Like he was full on lunch at this poor mom and her baby. So after that, that's when I was like, okay, I got to do something.
Yeah. Well, and that sort of points to how important understanding body language is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's to think that he was cold, but he was just like super overwhelmed. So I mean, shelters are doing the best that they can, but I wonder if even just like the basics of like a one sheet of, I don't know what was provided for you, but like a one sheet of resources, you know what I mean? Like, hey, don't do this in the first 2 weeks or do this in the first 2 weeks. But I know that.
I love shelter. It's just,
Yeah.
they're so full. They're so
They're,
busy.
yeah, they're just,
They're the one shelter that takes in like every dog, like strays, like, you know what I mean? They just,
yeah.
they say no, and they're lacking volunteers. So it was tough on all.
Yeah. They're doing the best that they can for sure. So then if that's not, I guess, doing what we're doing, which is providing as much information as we can through different formats like Instagram and social media and my podcast, of course, that's really the goal, is to reach people. So we've talked about the missteps, which are so common, and then that sort of honeymoon period, which makes it sound kind of nice, but it's not. It's really often that they're again in another environment. They're not sure why they're there or how long they're going to be there for. So there's a lack of behavior, right?
Oh, such a lack of behavior.
Yeah. So, okay. So then you realize something's going on, in-laws, that whole thing happened. And then what? Did you
So,
hire somebody?
no, so then I talked to my mom, because duh, mom knows best.
Yeah.
And she told me to get a prong collar, because that's what her trainer told her, because she also has a fearful dog, a little Yorkie poo, so cute. Very similar behaviors that Toby shows. And so she just got the trainer, and that's what she said. He likes, you need to get a prong collar. So I had that on my Amazon cart. And then I went on Facebook to look for some aggressive dog groups. And I found an amazing support group from Eden Dog Academy, as well as the Do No Harm dog training group. And to get into the group, you have to answer questions, and they include that you are, against aversive tools like prong collars and e-collars. So that got me thinking. I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
I read their files, and they had a lot of scholarly articles on how aversive tools are detrimental to your dog's welfare and can cause a lot more issues, especially with fearful dogs. So I was like, oh, forget that. I ditched the prong before I even bought it. And I dove into positive reinforcement, which I never even heard about. And the one shelter volunteer who texted us about Toby being timestamped, she gave me some resources, including Jenny from Dog Minded's Instagram.
Yay.
She has a highlight of books that she recommends. So I bought every one and read them.
Amazing. We should have had Jenny on here too. That is so awesome.
Was my saving grace. She was the first Instagram account I've ever followed, and she had just such great resources. So it was super helpful. The first book I read was from Debbie Jacobs, The Survival of Living with a Fearful Dog. And it was the perfect first book to read, because it really helped me empathize and learn that Toby's behavior was coming from fear, and he was having just a really hard time. So I was really able to connect with that. And from then on, it was positive reinforcement. We did hire a trainer once. Her name was Naomi with Praiseworthy Pets, and she was amazing. But at the time, there was no virtual. So she came into the house, and just seeing Toby so stressed with another stranger in the house just broke my heart. And my husband told me that he would give me an unlimited book budget if I decided to try to tackle this myself.
Okay.
That's
I love
kind
that. We should have had him on here too,
And he's downstairs. He gets shy.
Well, he's a big part of the journey as well, because I see he's involved with, a lot of what you're doing, right?
Definitely. Yeah. It was hard in the beginning. We fought all the time because like, do this, do that, you're doing that wrong. And then once we stopped doing like busy walks with triggers and started going on decompression walks without triggers, was when we really kind of got on the same page with how we should both be training Toby, because consistency is so key.
Yeah. The amount of strain that it puts on, I mean, yes, of course, the animal stress, but it also puts a big amount of strain on the household. I see it all the time. Like, people are, on the verge of divorce sometimes, so it's really tough. Yeah.
Especially household's really stressed because the animals, one of the animals is trying to kill the others. Because Toby
Yeah.
definitely
The,
didn't like my cats.
the cats. Now, like I love watching how the cats have been first that they like training.
Yeah.
And my favorite is and I can't remember that cat's name, the fluffy,
The one-eyed one?
no, Brett tortoiseshell sort of, is it
I have
Tabby?
I have one really fluffy with one eye. She's Spanky, but the one that Toby's best friends with, that's Martin.
Oh, okay. I think it might be Spanky.
You like Spanky. She's
I
my
think so. Swishing around the tail and around. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Love that. Okay. So, wow, what a journey. I think you actually lucked out to find the right sort of group
100%.
and then the right resources, because all it would have taken was a wrong left turn and some really fancy marketing. And you could have been like, but here's the thing about you though. I think you're intelligent, and I think you probably would have figured it out at some point. So.
Prong collars and e-collars, they just never felt right to me. So to find another avenue, I was like, oh, like relieved. I was like, oh, good. I don't have to do that.
Right. Well, in your background as a physical therapist, there is a certain amount of science that's involved. So I think that for you, it seems like it all makes sense. The science is there. It's on your side.
It connects. It just makes sense. And certain things just really don't make sense.
Yeah. So inadvertently, you've sort of become a spokesperson of sorts with Toby for positive reinforcement training, which I think, it's really awesome to see dog guardians sort of step up and be advocates for that kind of training, because a lot of times it is the trainers that are, trying to sort of get that information out there and everybody listen to me, come on, but it's really great to see dog guardians stepping up. And I'm seeing a lot more of that on Instagram, which is so, so nice. It feels like a nice team. We can all sort of like work together.
It's a beautiful community. And that's the one thing I got the most out of developing Toby's Instagram page, because I never thought it would be like this. I'm a cat lady. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was just going to put if you like look at my first photos of Toby, it's just like a picture of Toby with a little funny, well, I thought it was funny, comment below, just like little things like that. And then I started showing his training, and then I started connecting with other like dog parents. And then I started to be open about his reactivity. And it just went from there, because when you have a dog like Toby and they're afraid of people and they're really leash reactive and they have separation anxiety and all these other things, you just feel so alone. And I just remember feeling so isolated and just alone, and no one could relate to me. So making him a page and being able to find other people going through similar journeys, it was such a relief for my mental state.
Yeah. Yeah. So it really has, how is it's not like your relationship has changed with Toby because you really sort of got on that path right away, but I'm sure that you've noticed how his confidence has just sort of blossomed.
Oh
right?
my goodness. I like cry every time I look at videos. I made a really cute reel today, and I included when he was afraid, to where he's like full on lunging, to where he has zoomies. I remember when we first got him, me and my husband were like, he's just gonna be a dog that doesn't like to play. He's gonna be a dog that just kind of like is there.
Yeah.
He is definitely not that dog. He loves to play. He loves to play with dogs. I remember you gave me so much relief, because if you see Toby's leash reactivity, I mean, it looks straight up aggressive. Like, it looks scary. And I remember you did this segment, and it was like, if they play really well off leash, it very well could be frustration. And watching Toby play off leash with dogs, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, for a dog that has so many issues, he has such great social cues when playing with dogs. It's mind blowing. So thank you for that, because that made me feel really like, wait, no, like I just need one thing. I need one thing to go for me.
Yeah. Well, it's tough because a lot of people face that. And when they adopt a dog and then they're showing leash reactivity, they then think, oh my gosh, aggressive to dogs, right? But
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't know. And then how do you test it, right? It's like, well, how do you safely, we don't know how he is off leash. We'd like to test it out, but we also don't want to risk somebody getting hurt, right? So then you have to go through the process of basket muzzle training and seeking out the, safe opportunities to test him with other dogs, right? So it's not as easy as like, oh yeah, he's fun off leash. He could be like 8 out of 10 times too. We don't know that, right? So it's a process.
Definitely. Everything's a process. It's been
Yeah.
quite a process.
It's quite a process. Literally, I think you could write a book at some point about the whole experience.
It is definitely not like, let's lure a dog to sit. There's a lot more that goes into dog training than that.
Yeah, and it sort of makes you put things into perspective, like what's really important. Is it that my dog can do a stay for like 5 minutes without moving? No, it's, at least speaking for myself, it's all of the internal stuff.
Oh,
How is
yeah.
the animal feeling? And what was that?
I said, can my dog be happy?
Exactly. And I think that that's something that we should all aim towards is, digging deeper. Is the dog happy? How are they feeling? And the challenge is too, of course, is that we don't know. We don't know 100% how they're feeling. And body language really is our best, and really getting to know that dog.
Yeah, which is awesome that you provide that free body language course, because I've taken it and I've shared it like 1,000 times, because it really is. That's the thing that is going to guide everything you do with your dog, especially when you're starting to work on triggers and counter conditioning and desensitizing, because it's all based off body language to help determine that dog's threshold at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah. So tell me where things stand now with your training. You're feeling good? You're feeling
yeah, so
working? Yeah.
Toby, it was all focusing on getting him to not kill the cats. That was
Right.
like, number one, don't kill my cats. And also his separation anxiety, because he destroyed our couch 5 times. He destroyed a Kindle, shoes, a table. I mean, you name it, he destroyed it. So that was a really big problem. He escaped out of crates. He escaped out of rooms. He destroyed our doors. So that was our primary focus year 1, and both are doing awesome. He trains with the cats. He even does a start button in rest to do voluntary sharing with the cats. It's the coolest to see.
It's amazing.
And they all have little placemat. Oh, it's so cute. And his separation anxiety, we could go to work and he's absolutely fine.
Wow. So did you just go through did you go through a like a desensitization plan, like step by step, or?
Oh, not at all. So
Okay.
I would have loved to, but since I'm a physical therapist and Nick's a nurse, even during COVID, there was really no time to take off of work. I was new to my job, so I had no PTO. So the thing that actually helped us the most was blocking out the visual barriers with the window film.
Okay.
It was huge.
Yeah.
And then also letting him be in the room that we're always in. So I was kind of locking him in a room that we're never in. And it was until I started giving him the living room, which is where we always hang out. It's near the door. I blocked the window, and that in itself helps like tremendously.
Interesting. Yeah, sometimes it's experimenting with things, but yeah, when you put your dog in an area of the house that they aren't normally, it really can cause like, wow, what's going on? This is weird. And people don't know any better. So I think that's what it's really important that we talk about these things too, is that, you're thinking, hey, for his safety, I need to contain him. And then for him, he's like, oh my God, this is weird. And, freaks out. Right. So
routine was really helpful for him too. So like we do decompression morning. So like little things, like if we just anything off routine, he still struggles a little bit. It's not much. It's like a howl here and there, and then he would set himself. It's nothing like his panic attacks before, but definitely there's still room to work on from like more like random trips. And now this year, since, you know, getting him comfortable in his home, that was our first priority. He's comfortable in his home. I thought he was with me. He's not. But now this is the year of the setups, I'm calling it.
Right.
So
Okay.
this year it's going to be focusing on, I first want to start with his leash reactivity and setups with dogs, because I'm hoping by social facilitation that will help with people as well. And then eventually, once his leash reactivity is hopefully a little better, start working more setups with just like straight up strangers.
Yeah, setups are huge, right? It means taking the time out to plan a training session outside of your regular walks, because on the fly is really tough, because you can't, I mean, even when you do setups, you can't necessarily control all the factors. I mean, you can't, it's just not going to happen, right? So to the best of your ability, at least you can arrange with a stranger where it is you're meeting, hand signals that you might give them that would say move closer, or you're going to move closer, all that stuff. So planning really helps. So I think that for a lot of my clients, that's where they then start taking things to the next sort of step.
Yeah.
So that they don't feel like they're hitting a ceiling, right?
I think before setups, it's helpful to, train all those incompatible behaviors or U-turns or just things that will come in handy for, say, survival mode. But
Yeah.
Griffith made this comment and I fell in love with it. She was like, you'll only get so far doing things on your walks, but your dogs need to make friends versus just acquaintances. And that's really what I want to do for Toby. I want to trust more people, because once he meets you, like maybe 5 to 10 times, he
You're in
loves
his circle, right? Yeah.
like his circle, and he loves hard where you could come in the house without me, like you could do whatever you want. And I'm hoping that the more people he could trust, the easier it will be the next time, and then the easier it will be the next time, and then he'll look like a whole different dog. I could be hopeful. So fingers.
Yeah, no.
He's night and day. Like
Yeah.
yesterday, a stranger walked right next to us and right outside of our house, which is a bigger trigger for him, and he just didn't even care. He was like, looked at the dog, at the stranger, looked at me, and I was like, really?
Yeah. Those are the moments where all of the work that you've done is paying off,
And
and
his
yeah,
butt wiggles.
yeah,
And
that's a
never
great sign.
wiggle.
It's a great sign. So do you, I remember, I'm trying to think, I think you met up for they had a group walk that you met up for in the past. I know locally here, we're lucky that we have a group walk that is put on specifically for dogs with reactivity. And there's a strict code for training equipment, which is great, takes the guesswork out of things. So that can be really helpful is those parallel walks with groups of people, and then breaking off into smaller groups where you can develop friendships.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I stopped going to those.
Well, if it wasn't a match, maybe it means that you need to start your own.
Yeah, and I did. I stole the people
Good.
and now we have our own.
Valley has a question. Is Toby on meds as well?
Heck yeah, he is on 15.
Yeah.
40 grams.
Nice. Yeah. No shame in getting help with that type of thing, for sure.
Yeah.
Medication can be a huge game changer, and allows them to learn, facilitate learning so much better, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, I went on it and then he did. And I was like, all right.
Yeah. Well, oftentimes when I work with people in the medical field, it's just so much easier to sort of prompt them to see a veterinary behaviorist or talk to their vet about things like that. So
it was super helpful. And that in itself was a huge game changer for separation anxiety.
Yeah. Separation anxiety. I always refer out separation anxiety because it's there are specialists and it's not my realm of things. But if they are hurting themselves or going into severe panic states, then talking to the veterinarian. Yeah, they need relief right away, right? So that's really tough.
We didn't have the for separation anxiety. There's no way we would be where we were because we weren't able to proper protocol that would slowly desensitize him to it.
I think a lot of people,
it's hard.
It is. It's really hard. I mean, it's probably because people are home now that they would have the time or the ability to do it. But if you work in fields like you and your husband, not going to happen, right? So it's really tough. So
Except for reactivity. You can't take them to daycare and you can't sit or come.
yeah, for sure. So tell me, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who has a dog that has either developed reactivity or they have adopted a dog that they're now seeing reactivity? What are the best, what would you say that they could do right away, or resources that you'd point them towards? We've sort of talked about that already, but maybe.
I would definitely say stop taking your dogs for walks that are busy with triggers. That was huge for us once we stopped. I feel like with society, you always just feel you have to take your dog for these walks. And you don't have to take your dogs for walks if neither of you are enjoying it. So, the best thing that we did was we stopped the busy Philadelphia neighborhood walks and we just, would hop in the car and drive a little far away or just find these random spots. We actually started with a parking lot and took Toby on decompression walk. So we would put him on a 10-foot leash and just let him sniff and do his own thing. And then that way, since there's no triggers around, you have the time to train incompatible behaviors and work on, recall or emergency U-turns or just capturing attention, right? Because it's going to be easier to capture attention if it's not, surrounded by things that they think are going to hurt them. So that's my biggest advice.
Yeah. And so decompression walks, just for anybody who might be listening, Sarah Strumming, I believe, was the sort of originator of decompression walks. So I always like to give her a little shout out and credit. They can be game changers, as really people, these structured walks are just so stressful for a lot of dogs, taking them away from triggers if possible. I mean, some people live in, urban areas and they have no ability to get them out of the city, and that makes it even harder. But if you do, we're even schoolyards, or I'll probably get in trouble for saying that because you're not supposed to be on schoolyards probably with dogs, but I know you found a great place that is designated for dogs to go, but it can be tricky.
Yeah, the best place for us in the city, because we live in Philadelphia, we live in an urban environment, my pet-friendly cemetery.
Yes, I know.
I a lot of crap for initially, and actually people sent some haters sent the cemetery an email saying that I take my dog there, and the cemetery was like, good.
That's what it's here for. Well,
So
that's the benefit of, yeah.
The cemetery we have, it's like a national historical landmark, and it has like awesome events, and it's not like your typical cemetery, and it's super dog friendly. There's water bowls everywhere and poop bags, and it's been the most amazing place for us and all my fellow Philadelphians who are struggling with their dog's reactivity. We always see each other and we'll be like a head nod, right, and then we'll all go in like separate ways.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, it's interesting that people would be so concerned and sort of want to upset when somebody that's trying to do something for their dog and, do the right thing. It's kind of sad to be honest. But that said, there's probably more people that are supportive than not. So so I think you're doing a great job. So tell me what Toby has taught you about yourself.
About myself, that I am one determined person and slightly obsessive.
Yeah. Okay, but that's not a bad thing.
Ask my husband.
Yeah, well, you probably have learned a lot about things that you may not have signed up for originally. So a lot about dog behavior, and
Love it though. It's a complete new passion, and I just feel so strongly about it, and I just want to like scream it from the rooftop that every dog benefits from positive reinforcement. Reactive dogs benefit from positive reinforcement. Pit bulls benefit from positive reinforcement. And any trainer who tells you that your dog does not, and your dog needs other things, I just say the trainer is not skilled and not creative and not knowledgeable in animal behavior.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that sort of my pet peeve as of late would be that you can't have, so force-free positive reinforcement trainers. So that's what I would categorize myself as. I mean, the skill level from one trainer to the next is going to vary. And that does not mean that the entire positive reinforcement / force-free training doesn't work.
Yes.
It just means you may not have found a skilled enough trainer for you. And I'm not perfect. That's for sure. I'm not saying I'm the greatest on the planet, but it may be that you need to find somebody who has more experience instead of abandoning a training method completely. So I feel really strongly about that lately, because I am seeing, there's just extremes on yes, exactly. Just like doctors or therapists is, you're going to have better skill levels depending on experience and education, right? Because even so, the dog training industry is not regulated, good nor bad. It's just not regulated. So you really do have to, a lot of us are just working so hard to try and educate the public about what it is that they need. How do I choose a trainer? What letters am I looking for? It's so confusing.
It is. It's really hard. And the thing that I just would always want to emphasize, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
when there's just so many amazing ways to address your dog's fear. Whether it is, straight up just counter conditioning, building positive associations, nose work, personal play is an avenue I just started going into, and trying to play around triggers.
Yeah.
There's so many amazing things. So for you to say tried it, I would really question, did you try every way? Because there's so many great ways, and maybe you just didn't find the one that works for your dog, because every dog is different. Train the dog in front of you, but don't train them with tools.
Yeah. No, hey, the platform is yours today. As long as we're not naming names or things like that, we're fine.
There's so many great ways, and I love that. I feel with positive reinforcement, there's this creativity that comes to it. It's not black and white. There's so many gray, and not even gray. There's just so many rainbows. And there's just so many fun ways to train your dog. And if you're not having fun, then your dog's not having fun, and you're not going to get very far. Just have fun.
Yeah. And I think being realistic about how behavior change process works, which is not, there are ebbs and flows, there are regressions, there are plateaus. It's just like with us. And so I'm not saying if you've hit a plateau and it's been like a year, then I think it's time to seek, some help, right? If we're struggling, but it's part of the process. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know there was a moment in time where I questioned. Did I lose you?
Nope, I got you. I can hear you still.
I think I might have lost. There was definitely a moment in time when I was. Am I breaking up?
A little bit. You can try it again.
Oh no! Hello.
I can hear you now.
Let me see if I move it.
Move your internet.
Okay, so there was definitely a time. You're frozen.
Oh God.
Oh, internet's doing something weird. Oh man.
That's okay. Can you hear me at all?
Maybe I could I could hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Oh no.
That's okay. Well.
Okay. There was definitely. Yeah.
No.
You can still hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. There was definitely a time where I questioned, was positive reinforcement enough for Toby? Just because we were struggling so much. But I'm so happy that I just kept in mind that animal behavior takes time. It takes time. It takes time. Give him time. And once I started kind of cleaning up my own mechanics and starting, getting a little sharper with my clicker skills is when I really started to see a huge improvement. So I'm just so happy I stuck with it, because I think every parent probably goes through those times where they question it, because it takes time, and you kind of get really frustrated and really scared, and then you look at all these other pages where they're like, dogs walking in a strict heel around their triggers, and you're like, maybe I'm not doing the right thing. But I mean, just give it time, guys, because like us humans who are trying to work on ourselves, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And if you just put in the work and make sure that, you're all having fun, which means your dog's not going over threshold, then the change will happen.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
I could. You're good now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, great. I think they're excellent points. And again, I really think it's valuable for people to hear from somebody who's not a trainer, who's gone through the process of not knowing what to do, doing maybe some questionable things that they had no idea was not beneficial to their dog, and how you've really dedicated so much time and effort towards helping Toby, and it's really coming to fruition. It's and like Aiden says here, the R plus community is definitely a lifestyle, and I think that it really, I couldn't say it any better. It really is how we treat our dogs, and hopefully that bleeds into how we treat people.
Yeah, which can be a lot harder.
Absolutely. Yeah. How come it's so much easier to be that way to dogs than people? I don't know.
Because dogs are so innocent.
Yeah. It's like innocent. They're just so innocent, right?
They're toddlers.
No, yeah. Well, to that, thank you very much for coming on here and taking the time last minute to chat. I thought it'd be fun, and it really was really fun to connect.
Definitely.
And get you on here.
Can I say one thing?
Of course, please do.
Okay, so I have a book club. It's called Rough Readers, and it's geared toward parents with reactivity. And what we do is we choose a book a month, and we read it, and we learn together, and we support one another. We do weekly exercises and discussions. And my friend Aiden created a website that I'll be launching as soon as I get off this for the Rough Readers book club. So it's an official club, guys. You could join. I mean, it's new, so I'm sure there's going to be things we'll work through. But keep an eye out. We'll be posting the link, and I'm so excited to learn and read with fellow dog parents and dog trainers and anybody who just wants to nerd out a bit. So thank you, Aiden. Thank you so much.
Aiden. And where can people find you on Instagram?
The Toby Project.
At the Toby Project. Perfect.
With underscores. Yes. Thank you so much, Renee. You're such a huge inspiration, and your content's amazing. And I could speak for all us dog parents struggling. What a light you are. And thank you for all the sources you give us, because you do. You give so much, Renee.
It's the least I can do. And I love connecting with each and every one of you. And I'm just glad to help. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, have a good night. Thanks, everyone.
Everyone.
Bye.